Hey everyone, I'm Kevin Kier, and we're here with Cliff at the Texas Democratic Party. I want to jump right in. Have a lot going on. We obviously know the debates are tonight, but before we get to that, the photo that's circling around the internet and is causing a lot of outrage is the one of two dead migrants along the border, in the context of this much larger crisis with folks coming across the border seeking asylum. Beto O'Rourke blamed Trump for the deaths. So this is a hot issue, certainly to come up tonight. Cliff, what do you think from a Texas perspective? This really is all about. Obviously, it's a moral issue.
Sure. Well, first, I want to thank you for having me. This is my podcast debut, so very good to make that here with the Texas Signals. Appreciate the invitation.
You
Um,
bet.
this is a humanitarian tragedy. What we're seeing right now, people out there are dying, and our federal government is doing nothing meaningful to stop it. What we're seeing right now instead are Trump Republicans sending more troops to the border and performing actions that really don't align with our values. And this really hits home here in Texas, and being a border state, being a state that has been maligned essentially by the president and by some of his colleagues and or some of his allies in Congress, and including some folks here in Texas who ought to know better, some Texas Republicans. uh, what's happening right now is not being treated as a humanitarian crisis. Instead, it's being treated as a manufactured political crisis. When we see our Texas leadership or the Republican establishment in charge right now, the big three ganging up and saying, let's take some actions that really, for the most part, are amount to what seems to be political grandstanding. We're not taking into account the fixes that we could make right now. It shouldn't take congressional action to figure out how not to be monstrously cruel to children, and to 300 children in a facility here in Texas to provide toothbrushes and combs and showers and bathrooms and beds and blankets. It shouldn't take significant congressional action to do that. The only reason why we're in this place right now is that the president needs a distraction. The president needs political points, and so does the entire Republican Party that's in hook, line, and sinker with him.
Last night, the U.S. House passed I think $4.5 billion humanitarian aid funding package. That's now at the Senate. White House is saying they're going to veto it. Where is that? Where are we going to be? Are we just going to keep going back and forth in this whole thing? In a week or two, once this gets resolved, or once they go on recess.
The policy sausage making. I'm not personally the expert on that, but I do know that this is a political uh, policy decision that the Republican leadership, from the president to the state level, that they're all complicit in. The cruelty here is the actual policy itself. The policy aim, whether it's to demonize one group of people for your own political benefit, or whether it's to change whatever the demographic composition of the United States is that you don't think should be that way. I'm not 100% sure what the policy aim here, but the policy itself is cruelty. And it's been said before, but I think it bears repeating that it's really hard to tell when the incompetence ends and where the cruelty starts, where the malice starts. Some of these things have been done in the public eye, when Trump is grandstanded on before, is put the border patrol in a political position of doing some what is clear grandstanding with the intent on forcing Democrats to build a wall or adopt some inhumane policy themselves. Some of these things aren't necessarily being done with the purpose of grandstanding. I think what we've seen in Clint with the detention facility there, I don't think that's necessarily something that was done on the front end to lead to political action, to put on demonstration the cruelty of this administration, to force the Democrats to change. This is just the standard operating procedure of this Republican government. So whatever passes through the Congress, I mean, I think what we're seeing is, and on the part of a number of Democrats, is just distrust in the administration's ability to effectively put forward a humane policy and do right by these children, and have an asylum policy that's humane and that makes sense, regardless of what's on the paper, what's in the strict contours of the law. I think there's just a general distrust that the administration is going to be able to do this, which just makes congressional oversight all the more important.
Keir, debates are tonight, as we mentioned. What are you hoping to see? What do you want? What do the candidates need to do?
Well, of course, this represents an opportunity for one or more of these candidates to break out of the pack. We obviously have a few front runners led by former Vice President Joe Biden, who will be on the stage tomorrow night. But probably Elizabeth Warren is the best known candidate participating this evening, along with the two Texas candidates, Julian Castro and Beto O'Rourke. And so I think from Warren's standpoint, she's been rising in the polls in recent weeks, gaining more support among women and others, with highly detailed plans for where she wants to take the country. I think she's going to have an opportunity to even showcase that more. I'm also interested in former Secretary Castro's posturing on the stage this evening, particularly in the light of the issues that we were just discussing with Cliff, with these migrants being detained at the border. He was the first of the major candidates to come out with a comprehensive immigration plan several months ago. And I think it's going to be a big topic of discussion tonight.
Cliff, I know you'll have some plans tonight there in Austin. What are they?
Well, we've got our own debate watch party that we're hosting in partnership with the Travis County Democratic Party. So it should be a big grand affair. I think we've all seen these presidential candidates, a couple dozen presidential candidates, an historic number, campaign out there across the country. And you have some of the dyed-in-the-wool Democratic, yellow dog Democratic supporters who've been watching. So this is the first time that we get to see them all perform on the main stage. We've got a number of debates to go. We've got presidential forums to go. We've got a fair amount of voting to go before we get to an actual nominee. But I think, I'll be keeping an eye out. And I think a lot of Democrats are going to be keeping an eye out to see what is it going to be like to see each and every one of these folks, to envision them standing next to, across the stage from Donald Trump. We've got a lot of remarkable options out there. There's a great wealth of experience. There's an embarrassment of riches, you might say. So I'll be excited to see how they interact on stage, and in a substantive discussion of the policies that we've talked about now and that a lot of Americans care about.
We learned this week, too, that one of our favorite FUBAR Hall of Fame awardees, Jonathan Stickland, is not seeking re-election. I know you like Sticky.
Yes, after 4 terms in the Texas House, he's calling it quits, having recently passed his first bill banning red light cameras in the state of Texas. I think there will be a frenzied field on the Republican side to succeed him. However, Representative Stickland only narrowly won his district against an underfunded Democratic challenger last year. And I think Democrats are going to be going after that seat in a big way as part of the overall strategy to take back the Texas House in the 2020 election prior to redistricting in the 2021 session.
And real quick, that reminds me, we looked up Trump's digital ad spending this week just to see where we got.
Yes, I believe Texas continues to lead the way. He's spending more here than in any other state, and by a lot. And again, we've said, I feel like a broken record, but we've said for progressives, for Democrats who don't want to believe that this state is in play for 2020, watch what the other side is doing. they know they're in trouble. Spending close to $250,000 on digital ads in the state, they mean business, and so should we.
Thoughts on Trump spending and sort of shaking in his shoes, Cliff?
I think it's a common thread. Both Trump and Jonathan Stickland realize that Texas is the biggest battleground state in the country. And, I think Stickland tried to go out and drop the mic and, to the tune of my way. I came in, I stayed true to my values. I did what I wanted to do, which apparently was pass one bill in a Republican majority legislature in the entirety of his career. So apparently that's, low expectations. That's all he wanted to accomplish. But I think what they're all recognizing is that things have changed in Texas. And Keir says it well, and you all do a great job at the Texas Signal of reinforcing this point. Don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. The investment in Texas is real. They are scared. The private meetings that they have with their own leadership, with their own donors, like people chat and we catch wind of these things. John Cornyn goes to DC and he talks about how this is real, what's happening in Texas. We had 1.8 million people hop on the rolls from November 2014 and November 2018. And for comparison's sake, that's like registering the entire state of New Mexico in a 4-year period. We dropped New Mexico into Texas and we still have millions more to go. And we're registering at a fast clip. So this is happening in suburban districts like Jonathan Stickland's. And this is changing the overall statewide performance of our statewide performance in general. We have the more folks that we register, the more diverse the coalition of people are who are getting registered. They're disproportionately people of color, the majority under the age of 35. So we've talked for years about a demographic time bomb in Texas and across the country, but even more so here in Texas. And I think what we're seeing is that, coupled with the hard work over the last few years and the insane growth in the state of Texas, that it is coming true, and it's all coming to a head in 2020.
And I think I should just add that we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that the presidency of Donald Trump is a great accelerant in this process. I think most of us looking at the state of Texas thought it would be the middle of the next decade before the state began to really become competitive. But the Trump machine has accelerated that change.
Thanks, Cliff. Great having you on this episode. We will come to you tonight at 7:45 live here for a pre-show, and then we're back at around 10 p.m. tonight with a longer show of guests from all over the state. Very diverse. Really looking forward to our lineup. Cliff, thanks, man.
I just want to make a pitch to say if you're a Democrat out there and you want to join 14 or 15, one of 14 or 15, I think actually now we have close to 24, I want to say, watch parties happening across the state. Go to txdemocrats.org, check out our map, visit with your local Democrats. This is a night of celebration to see all of the great talent that we have that is at our disposal, at our choosing as Democrats. So excited for the first night of many, I'm sure, debates to come.
Nice. See y'all later.